Hey guys, listen, I am an AOR member and advocate and an affiliate. I do believe in their program, and this is just some of the reason why I believe in the program. So, the video or parts of this video that we're about to watch, this highlights the importance of having some kind of self defense for your self defense. Now, if you go with the other guys, that's your prerogative. I understand. I get it. There's definitely some nuances to this game, and now whatever you think about attorneys on retainer or Mark J. Victor or Andy Marcantel, this is the program. 100%. This is the program. So I've looked at all the contracts, and in my reasoning, I think this is the best program. Now, there's only 3 things that have to happen for you to be covered with the AOR program. That's 1, you have to be a member. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. No one's going to cover you unless you are paying for their services. So 2, you have to have a good faith self-defense incident. Now, what does good faith mean exactly? Now, I went down there and I talked to them personally, and they err on the side of caution, and they will take the case. Now, if they find out that it wasn't a good faith incident, well, then they could potentially drop you. So, what does that mean exactly? Well, they're criminal defense lawyers, and this is all they do now. And they've been in practice for quite some time. So the only people that can say whether it was not a good faith or was a good faith self-defense incident are these guys. All right, and their law firm, which is Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm. So that's number 2. Have a good faith self-defense incident. Number 3 is you have to be either charged with a crime, either a misdemeanor or a felony, or you're likely to be charged with a crime. Now, here's the big thing. This is what I think sets them above and beyond, let's say, USCCA, right to bear. What are the other ones out there? You got U.S. Law Shield. You have all these other ones, whatever they are. There's like a bunch of them out there. They will not only cover you for both misdemeanors and for the felony, but they will cover you for the felony by providing 3 lawyers in addition to your local counsel. So you get 4 total lawyers to defend you in the event you're charged with a felony. Now, let's just think about this real quick. If you are a firearms owner and you carry every day, and you carry for your self-defense, and you have to draw that firearm, you being charged with a felony is more than likely than you being charged with a misdemeanor. You're using a deadly weapon to protect yourself. That's pretty serious stuff. And again, I'm not going to leave my life to include the life I have with my family up to some insurance broker or adjuster or anything to do with that. And this is exactly why I wouldn't go with the other guys. Okay? Because I don't know definitively if they are insurance or if they're not insurance, because I don't know the legalities when it comes to state laws. This is another reason why some of those companies can't do business in places like Washington or New York or what have you. Whereas AOR will represent you through what's called pro hoc vice. I think I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, link it up in the comments below. Basically, they represent you through your local counsel. And these cats have local counsel all throughout the nation that they have chosen. Now, you can choose your own. I wouldn't advise it because, let's face it, in the heat of the moment, you're not going to pick the right one. And, oh, by the way, you have to do all the research and so on and so forth. You might not be able to do it from your jail cell because you're arrested for defending yourself. Because by they I mean the law enforcement officers are going to investigate that like it was a crime. So they may put you behind bars. And where are you going to find your lawyer at? Let's find them through the yellow pages, shall we? Anyway, let's watch a couple of these clips from AOR, and then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit.
Andy Marcantel and Mark Victor were the partners at the Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm, here to discuss a tough but important subject about our criminal justice system. How you doing today, Mark?
I am always doing well, Andy. This is a video that we've been talking about making for a long time. It's one that really does need to be made because, for people who carry firearms, you really need to understand, and I think everybody does, that, if you pull it out, you could be prosecuted. But what I think they don't understand is, what's that like exactly? I mean, we have escorted people through that process now.
If you're not a criminal defense attorney, and even if you are, and you haven't gone through that process, you really don't know what you're in for when you draw your firearm to defend yourself. You have no idea. And let's say you did go through that process once. Doesn't mean it's going to happen the same way each and every time it happens. And hopefully it never happens to you. But ultimately, you don't know what the hell is going to happen. So he's making a very, very solid point here. And I think that probably if you carry a firearm, you need to have it in the back of your mind. If you draw that firearm in self-defense, you are likely to go up against a jury of your peers, and your peers could be pulled from, whatever county that this happens in. So in my neck of the woods, if you're in Colorado, you definitely don't want a jury of your peers from Denver. And if you have a jury of your peers from Denver or Boulder County or something like that, you don't know who you're going to get. The same thing with El Paso County and the other ones, right? Tyler County, you don't know who you're going to get. And then just a little plug on Armed Attorneys, another channel that I like to watch. They specifically say that juries are wild animals. Even those who you think will be on the defender's side may not be. They might be the most stringent. So no matter what county, it may not be the jury that you think you're going to get.
Law firm since 1997. And so we got a pretty good idea what that's like. And I think it does make sense for us to break it down for people.
Yeah, we have escorted literally thousands of people collectively through the justice system at our law firm, many of which have been self-defense cases, violent crimes, very, very serious mandatory prison prosecutions. And so we know exactly what it's like to be prosecuted and help people through this process all the time. We think it would be a good idea to make sure that our viewers know exactly what that process looks like before they pull out their firearm to defend themselves.
Okay, so they've been in business since 1997. So to put that in perspective, I joined the Army in 1999. I retired in 2023, and now I do this. And I have another job, and I'm traveling right now. Speaking of traveling, if you have AOR, you're covered in all 50 states. Right now I'm in Alaska, so I'm covered here in Alaska. I'm covered in Washington as well, where my layover was. I'm covered in Colorado, right? So those are some really good things. But to put that in perspective, they've been doing this for longer than I have been an adult. Just put it to you that way. They've been doing this longer than I've been an adult, and I'm a 44-year-old man. So I think they know the process pretty damn well. All right, let's see if we can find something else here. I am going to link this video below, and I encourage you to literally listen or watch the entire thing. I'm just going to cover some highlights that I think are important to hopefully get you to understand that you need to have some kind of self-defense coverage for your self-defense. And I encourage you, obviously, to take up AOR on their services.
In order to help our viewers kind of analyze this choice, I think at this juncture, Mark, we need to give a really graphic, frankly, description of what it is like to be prosecuted in the American justice system.
Yeah, and of course, this is generic. I mean, no two cases come down exactly the same. But I mean, we've done so many of these. You know, I can tell you that normally these start one of two ways, right? You either A, get escorted to the ground, or B, something shows up in the mail that notifies you the members of the grand jury in your county have decided to indict you with a serious crime. Both of those are going to be bad, but being escorted to the ground, that's definitely not my choice. But
that's a pretty good distinction there that I didn't even think about, obviously, because this isn't my profession. Imagine you have a self-defense incident, and the cops, they do their initial investigation. They decide then and there that, yeah, we think this is a self-defense incident. We don't think you did anything wrong here. We're going to let you go, but we're going to keep your firearm for further investigation, so on and so forth. Which brings me to, they do have a monetary amount that they will replenish your firearm if your firearm is taken in the investigation. I can't remember exactly what that amount is, but you can check it out at their website and check out their contract. But they do cover that. But imagine you go home, the district attorney decides, hey, we're going to do a grand jury. The grand jury then indicts you. You get a letter in the mail, and now you have to defend yourself. Okay, so now the whole process of finding a lawyer, so on and so forth. Of course, if you have AOR, there's no process there. You just call them, say, hey, I've been indicted, so on and so forth. But man, imagine you get indicted, to go in front of a jury, to fight fight for your rights, and then now the whole process starts. And from that moment on, you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea from that point forward, and that's pretty scary stuff. Especially, you're likely well established in your life. You maybe have a wife or a husband or a significant other. You have your family to take care of, and then if you are removed from your family, now what's going to happen from there? Okay, so this is a very important thing that Mark and Andy is talking about.
48 or even 72 hours in some places. But that first hearing, man, you got a lot riding on that first hearing because you haven't enjoyed your first night or two at your new residence there. The food's going to be horrible. It's going to be freezing cold. People are going to be yelling and screaming, pounding on the walls. There's absolutely no privacy. You're lucky if you get a phone call. You might not get a phone call. Probably forget about medical attention. Those pills and medicines you've been taking, forget that. You don't have any of that stuff. I mean, this is not going to be a fun experience. A lot of it's just going to be sitting around. You might be in a very crowded cell, sitting on the floor most of the time, sharing a spot with other people. I mean, it's not a happy situation.
Yeah, and if you're in custody, eventually you will be taken for an initial appearance, also sometimes called a release hearing, where a judge is going to make the important decision.
What Mark was saying there, kind of cut off. If the cops decide, hey, they're going to they're going to detain you and they're going to put you in jail, you could be there for 72 hours before you even get an initial hearing, or more, who knows. And then he kind of described what it's going to be like in that cell. No privacy. You're going to have to take a dump in front of all these strangers, let's say. You might have to sleep next to strangers and on the floor or whatever. Who knows what it's going to be? It's definitely not going to be your bed. So this is very important stuff. Let's move on to another segment. And the only reason why I'm doing small segments is because I encourage you, go and watch it for yourself. And then when you decide to go with AOR, I want you to use my code, which is also below. I do get a small commission from it, but I don't promote anything I do not believe in. So if you think I am correct in what I'm saying, go and use that link below. I certainly appreciate it.
And they don't issue an arrest warrant or arrest you that night. As you mentioned at the beginning, you might receive something in the mail, and it's going to look like a really scary document that says a grand jury has convened and found probable cause that you committed the following very serious crimes. Here's your court date. We'll see you then.
Yeah, it's got that scary word indictment on it. You might get a criminal complaint, in which case you're looking at a preliminary hearing. But now you're on the hunt for an attorney. And, don't think that you are automatically going to get a public defender. You got to qualify for a public defender, which essentially means you either have to sign a document in court under oath or tell the judge in court under oath that you just don't have enough money to afford an attorney. If you've got money in the bank, guess what? That's on you.
You're expected to spend it. Yep.
You got to spend it. Now you got to find an attorney. How are you going to do that? You're under pressure. You don't know who's good. So yes, another advantage to AOR clients. You don't have to worry about this. You've already got this worked out. You know exactly who your lawyers are.
Yeah, and the situation becomes even crazier if you're trying to find that attorney for the first time while you're in custody.
So we hit on this a little bit, and full transparency here, like, I didn't really think about this until I watched this video. So, and that really hit me in the face. I was like, wow, you could be behind bars trying to find an attorney. And, yeah, so I definitely don't want that to be me if I have to defend myself. And I don't want it to be my wife if she has to defend herself. This is why we have the family plan. It's like $50 a month. Yeah, I think it's like $50 a month. And if we never have to use it, it would be worth it, because if we didn't have AOR and we have to defend ourselves and we have to fork over an attorney, a retainer for an attorney, that retainer is probably going to be $50,000. So I could spend $50 a month for the rest of my life, and I would not even touch $50,000 being paid for the services that I may or may not need. I really like it, the knowing that I have peace of mind, that I know these two guys are going to be my lawyers. Their firm is going to represent me, and they're going to have local counsel for me as well. Now again, I can pick my own, but I ain't picking my own. I ain't picking my own counsel. I don't know who's good or who's not good or whatever. These guys have been doing this since 1997. I think they understand who a good lawyer is and who isn't. By the way, there's another video that they did where they represented a gentleman in New York, of all places, and they found a lawyer for him. And that video is up here somewhere in the stratosphere. Check that out as well.
Left with is, maybe I win at trial, maybe I lose at trial. And if I lose at trial, I'm looking at a lot of time in prison. And guess who knows that? The prosecutor knows that. So don't expect that first plea to be very favorable.
Yeah, I always tell clients, brace for that first plea, and there's reasons for that. Oftentimes, that first initial plea offer that a prosecutor makes, if you even get one at all, by the way, because you're not guaranteed a plea offer. In some cases, the prosecutors don't give a plea offer, but that initial plea offer is often extremely harsh. And the reason is because prosecutors have certain policies in their offices, and it can be as simple, it's going to sound stupid, but it's true. It can be as simple as looking on the chart of their official policy. Okay, what's he charged with? It's an aggravated assault with a firearm where somebody was injured. Okay, and let's take a look. Our initial offer is 8 years or 5 years or
Have a
10
nice
years.
day.
Have a nice day.
Isn't that crazy? Like, they're taking all the human element out of it. They're not even looking at the case to seeing the facts yet. They're just looking at a chart in some prosecution office, like Andy said there. And they're just looking at a chart and going, okay, they're going down the left side. Okay, what's the crime, so on and so forth. And then they go to the right, and then they're like, okay, well, this is the plea we're going to give them, right? Because more than likely they're going to take the plea, and then that's a win for the DA's office, and that's a win for the defendant, right? So that's pretty crazy. As I said, you don't even know if you're going to get a plea deal. But if you do, it's not likely not going to be favorable. It's going to sound more appealing than, let's say, 20 years in prison. But it's not going to be favorable where you're going to really like it. This is the negotiation process, and this is where you need attorneys in your corner who is going to fight on your behalf and negotiate on your behalf. Ultimately, you have the decision to make whether you're going to take a plea deal or not. But this is where the rubber meets the road and getting your rights back. Now, the DA's office is probably not going to drop it all together unless there's substantial evidence that says otherwise. If they don't think they can win the case, they might drop it. However, if they think they can even win at all, they're likely just going to try to plea out, so they can get that win. They're going to get that W, and it's gonna seem like you lose, but in the grand scheme of things, you may not lose, because what's the alternative? Going to trial? This is why you need negotiators that understand the system and understand the laws and can speak to those things. Just a little bit more on that. So I want you to put yourself in a situation where, and this isn't self-defense at all, but I want you to think about this real quick. If you've ever watched a TED Talk, and those speakers at the TED Talk, they speak really, really well. They know how to do the speaking in front of people. Now I want you to try to put yourself in front of those people to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. Could you do a better job than those people? The same is true here, but this time, instead of being embarrassed on stage, let's say, you could lose your life in prison. So I think the choice is clear here. You need some high stakes negotiators in your corner to get the best plea deal that you can, and then you get to make that decision whether you take the plea deal or not. I'll cover one more section of this. Again, I'm not going to go over the whole video. I do encourage you to go watch it. Again, it's linked up below. And if you decide to go with AOR, come back to my channel, click on my link, use that code and that link to get your $25 off of your membership, one, and then two, I can get a little bit of a thank you for doing this video for you. Basically what they're going to say, here's a summary of it. They're going to say, let's say, for example, you go all the way through, you go to the trial, everything's done, you get acquitted. Are you going to feel like a winner after spending time, money, and effort to defend yourself? Are you going to feel like a winner? And never mind the time, money, and effort, the trifecta there. Are you going to feel like a winner because you had to dispatch someone to save your own life? I think the answer there is going to be unequivocally no. I don't think you're going to feel like a winner. You're going to be done. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be relieved if it turns out that you're acquitted, but you're not going to feel like a winner. And then now that it's all over, getting back to normal life, that's going to be difficult. That's going to be difficult. That's basically what they're going to say here. We're going to watch a little bit of it, and then I'll end this video.
Winner. Assuming you're not an attorney's on retainer client, assuming you had to come out of pocket to defend yourself during this case, you are many tens of thousands and probably in excess of $100,000 out of pocket at this point. All gone because of legal fees. It went to your lawyer, it went to your experts, it went to your investigators, everything that was needed to get you to this.
Oh, by the way, speaking of experts, so I have done some expert witness testimony. My price isn't even near the type of experts you're going to need if you're charged with a felony. If you're charged with, let's say, murder, those experts are going to be $500-$600 an hour or more. Mine is half of that. And that's only for lower level cases. For example, an accidental discharge or something of that nature. I've done 2 accidental discharge cases so far. Yeah, my price is half of the top tier persons that you would need in your corner if you were charged with murder or manslaughter or assault with a deadly weapon or something of that nature.
When you now have paid for out of pocket, what about the time? What about the stress? What about the sleepless nights? You can't get that time back. You can't get those precious hours back from your life that you spent in courtrooms waiting for your case to be called. Maybe you had to take off a ton of time of work. Maybe you lost your job just because you were prosecuted. I've had many, many clients whose bosses have immediately fired them upon their arrest, even when they were presumed innocent. And private employers have the right to do such a thing. And defendants, even people who are innocent, oftentimes feel tons of collateral consequences like this. What about your relationships with your family? Unfortunately, there are some family and friends that I have heard of over the years of my clients who heard they were being prosecuted with a homicide crime. Oh my God, he's a murderer? He's charged with, they wouldn't have charged him with second-degree murder unless he committed murder, right? Oh, he shot somebody?
Okay, so this is very, very true. So it wasn't self-defense in my case, but when I was accused of doing very heinous things to my ex-wife, there were people that I thought were my friends that kind of stiff-armed me. Just because the allegations are so serious, why would anybody make false accusations in that serious type of manner? I'm here to tell you, it hurts. It hurts when you find out that people are going to shun you regardless. It doesn't matter. You're going to have people that immediately think that the accusations are true, and they're going to distance themselves from you. And it may be those who you thought were closest to you. All right, guys, if you like the video, like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the things in the YouTube universe, or Instagram or social media, so on and so forth. You get the picture. We really want to put out good content for you guys. I really put a lot of effort into this, so I'd appreciate it. Additionally, I do have some affiliate links below, and check those guys out, specifically Mantis Training Systems and Attorneys on Retainer. Check out.